You should be terrified, human. So why aren't you? His response shattered her reality. The sky above Arctura was a quiet blue, streaked with the soft glow of twin moons, when everything changed. Mira Cade stood on the edge of a dusty repair platform, her hands greasy from tinkering with a broken solar drone. She was an engineer, born and raised on this rugged human colony, where every day was a battle against sandstorms and failing tech. At 32, she'd seen her share of hard times, crop failures, power outages, even a pirate raid once, but nothing like this. A low rumble shook the ground, and she looked up just as the sky split open. Massive ships, angular and glowing with eerie green light, tore through the atmosphere. They didn't announce themselves. They didn't need to. Within moments, beams of searing energy rained down, turning the colony's outer towers into molten slag. Mira stumbled back, her heart pounding as screams echoed across the settlement. People ran in every direction, farmers clutching tools, children clinging to parents, all fleeing the chaos. She ducked behind a crate as a nearby warehouse exploded, showering the platform with debris. Through the smoke, she saw the ships hovering like predators, their hulls glinting coldly. Aliens. She'd heard rumors of them, distant empires that crushed worlds for sport, but Arctura was small, insignificant. Why here? Why now? Mira, a voice shouted. She turned to see Jax Wren, a wiry pilot with gray streaks in his hair and a permanent scowl. He sprinted toward her, dragging a teenage girl named Lila, one of the colony's junior scientists. We've got to move, those things aren't stopping. Mira nodded, shoving her tools into a bag. What's the plan? Shelter. Jack spat into the dirt. Shelter's gone. Saw it vaporized on my way here. We're on our own. Lila trembled, clutching a cracked data pad. They're cutting comms. I picked up a signal before it died, something about the chiral dominion. They're demanding surrender. Surrender? Myra's voice sharpened. To what? They haven't even said hello. The trio darted through the wreckage, dodging blasts that turned streets into craters. Around them, the colony burned, neat rows of homes and hydroponic domes reduced to ash. Myra's mind raced. She'd spent her life fixing things, solving problems. This was just a bigger puzzle, right? They reached a crumbling storage bay, where a handful of survivors huddled, workers, a medic, a few kids. Fear hung thick in the air, but Mira refused to let it take her. Listen up, she said, climbing onto a crate. We can't run forever. Those ships want us scared, broken. But we're still here. We've got tools, brains, and each other. Who's with me? A murmur rippled through the group. Jax crossed his arms, smirking faintly. You're crazy, Cade. I like it. What's the move? Mira pointed to a pile of wrecked drones and scorched metal. We build. Salvage what we can. Fight back. The others hesitated, but Lila stepped forward, her voice shaky but firm. I can help. I know the tech. We could, maybe rig something. Good, Mira said. Jax, scout the perimeter. Rest of you, start digging through this mess. We're not done yet. As they worked, the alien ships descended closer, their shadows swallowing the ruins. A booming voice echoed across the colony, mechanical and cold. People of Arctura, this is Commander Virak of the Chiral Dominion. Your world is ours. Submit, or be erased. Mira clenched her fists. Submit? She'd grown up on stories of humans who'd stared down worse, floods, famines, wars, and come out stronger. She wasn't about to bow to some faceless voice. Hours passed as the group pieced together a ramshackle launcher from drone parts and a busted generator. It wasn't pretty, but it might work. Jax returned, breathless, his eyes wide. They're landing troops, he said. Big ones. Armor like I've never seen. Then we hit them first, Mira replied, flipping the launcher's power switch. It hummed to life, shaky but alive. The first chiral soldiers marched into view, towering figures in jagged armor, their faces hidden behind visors. They moved with eerie precision, weapons glowing with deadly intent. Mira aimed the launcher and fired. A bolt of scavenged energy streaked through the air, slamming into the lead soldier. It staggered, then collapsed, smoke pouring from its chest. The others froze, as if stunned a human could strike back. From the flagship above, Virak watched through a view screen. He was a lean figure, his skin a deep teal, his eyes sharp and unblinking. The chiral had conquered dozens of worlds, species that begged, fled, or crumbled. Humans were supposed to be no different, primitive, fragile. Yet here they were, fighting with scraps. Interesting, he muttered, stroking his chin. Perhaps they are not as weak as we thought. Back on the ground, Myra's group cheered as the chiral retreated from the blast zone. It wasn't a victory, not yet, but it was a start. She wiped sweat from her brow, meeting Jax's gaze. Think they'll come back? Count on it, he said. But we'll be ready. Lila clutched her datapad, her fear giving way to a spark of excitement. We could do more. Bigger weapons. Traps. Whatever they throw at us, we'll figure it out. Mira nodded, a fierce grin spreading across her face. The sky was still falling, but they weren't. Not yet. And as the chiral regrouped, Virak's curiosity grew. Who were these humans, and why wouldn't they break? The air on Arctura was thick with smoke and the sharp tang of melted metal. Mira Cade crouched behind a slab of shattered concrete, her hands steady as she adjusted the makeshift launcher. The chiral soldiers had pulled back after her first shot, but she knew they'd return, stronger, angrier. Around her, the small band of survivors worked fast. Lila, the teenage scientist, hunched over a glowing fragment of alien tech they'd pried from a downed chiral drone. Jax, the grizzled pilot, kept watch, his eyes scanning the horizon for the next wave. The others, workers, a medic, a few brave souls, sorted through wreckage, piling up anything that might be useful. Mira wiped sweat from her forehead and glanced at Lila. What we got? Lila's fingers danced over the fragment, a jagged piece of metal pulsing with faint green light. It's some kind of power core, she said, her voice trembling with excitement. Not like ours. It's alive, almost. I think we can use it. Use it how? Jax called, not turning from his lookout post. Lila grinned, a spark of confidence breaking through her nerves. Boost the launcher. Or maybe make something new. It's got energy we can tap, way more than our stuff. Mira nodded. Do it. We need every edge we can get. Above them, the chiral ships loomed like storm clouds, their green glow casting eerie shadows over the ruins. On the flagship, Commander Virak stood before a massive viewscreen, watching the humans scurry below. His lieutenants flanked him, tall, armored figures with faces like carved stone. One, a hulking officer named Drace, growled in disgust. They fight with garbage, Commander. Why waste time? Crush them now. Virak's eyes narrowed. No. They hit us with that contraption. Primitive, yes, but effective. I want to know how. Drace snorted. They're insects. Luck, nothing more. Perhaps, Virak said, his voice calm but firm. But insects can sting. We proceed with caution. Back on the ground, Lila rigged the alien core into the launcher, wires sparking as she connected it to their salvaged generator. The device hummed louder, its energy pulsing faster. Mira tested the trigger, and a bolt shot out, carving a smoking trench into a nearby wall. She laughed, a wild, fierce sound. That's more like it. Jax jogged over, his face grim. Better hurry. They're coming, bigger group this time. Got some kind of tank thing with them. Myra's stomach tightened, but she shoved the fear down. Then we move. Set a trap. Lila, can you rig something to blow? Lila's eyes widened, but she nodded. Give me 10 minutes. The group scrambled, dragging debris into a narrow street between two collapsed buildings. They piled it high, hiding the launcher and a crude explosive Lila patched together from the alien core's scraps. Myra's hands shook as she worked, but she kept moving. She'd fixed engines in storms, patched roofs during floods. This was no different. Just another problem to solve. When the chiral arrived, they came with force. Soldiers marched in tight formation, their armor gleaming, led by a hulking machine on treads, its barrel glowing with deadly promise. Mira held her breath as they neared the trap. Now, she whispered into a scavenged calm. Lila flipped a switch, and the explosive detonated. A wave of heat and light erupted, swallowing the front line of soldiers and rocking the tank off its tracks. The launcher fired next, punching through the machine's armor. It groaned, then collapsed in a heap of sparking metal. The surviving chiral scattered, their precision shattered. From the flagship, Virak watched, his fingers tightening on the viewscreen's edge. They adapt, he murmured. Fascinating. Drace slammed a fist against the console. They're mocking us. Let me lead the next assault. I'll grind them to dust. Virak raised a hand. No. Send a scouting unit. I want one alive. I need answers. On the ground, Myra's crew cheered, but the victory was short-lived. The sky darkened as more chiral ships descended, their engines roaring. Jax grabbed Myra's arm. We can't stay here. They'll flatten us. She nodded, her mind racing. The old mines, south of the colony. We can hide, regroup, build more. The group fled, carrying what they could. The mines were a maze of tunnels, carved deep into Arctura's rocky crust. They'd been abandoned years ago, but Mira knew them well. She'd repaired equipment there as a kid. As they slipped inside, the earth rumbled with distant blasts. The chiral weren't giving up. In the dim tunnels, Lila set up a makeshift workbench, tinkering with more alien scraps they'd grabbed. Jax paced, restless. We're rats in a hole, Cade. What's the endgame? Mira sat on a crate, staring at the launcher. We don't just survive. We hit back, harder. They think we're weak. Let's prove them wrong. Hours later, Lila held up a small device, a transmitter cobbled from human radios and chiral tech. It's ready, she said. We can broadcast. Reach the other settlements. Tell them to fight. Mira took it, her hand steady. She pressed the button and spoke, her voice echoing through the static. This is Mira Cade, from the northern colony. The chiral hit us, but we're still here. We've hurt them, with scraps, with our hands. You can too. Don't give up. Fight. The message looped, spreading across Arctura. In hidden shelters and ruined towns, people listened. A farmer picked up a shovel. A teacher rigged a battery to spark. The fire Mira lit began to spread. Aboard the flagship, Virak intercepted the signal. He tilted his head, intrigued. They rally, he said. Not with armies, but words. Who is this? Mira Cade? Drace sneered. A pest. I'll silence her myself. No, Virak snapped. I will. Bring her to me. The chiral moved fast. A scouting unit tracked the signal to the mines, storming the tunnels with ruthless efficiency. Myra's group fought back, the launcher cutting through armor, but there were too many. Jax tackled a soldier, shouting for Mira to run, but a stun blast caught her. Darkness swallowed her as she fell. When she woke, she was aboard a chiral ship, cold, vast, its walls alive with pulsing lights. She was bound in glowing cuffs, dragged before Virak. He stood tall, his teal skin catching the light, his gaze piercing. "You are the one who defies us," he said, his voice like ice. "Why?" Mira lifted her chin, meeting his eyes. "Because we don't quit. You burn our homes, we build new ones. You knock us down, we get up. That's who we are." Virak studied her, silent. Most species begged or broke under his stare. This human didn't. "You cannot win," he said. "Your world is lost." "Maybe," she replied, a faint smile tugging at her lips. "But we'll make you remember us." Far below, Jax and Lila regrouped in the mines, the transmitter still humming. The Cairo might have Mira, but the fight wasn't over. Jax clenched his fists. "She's counting on us. Let's not let her down." The fire of human defiance burned brighter, and Virak, for the first time, felt a flicker of doubt. These humans weren't just surviving, they were changing the game. Mira Cade woke to the hum of alien machinery, her wrists bound in glowing cuffs that pulsed faintly against her skin. She was in a vast chamber aboard the Chiral flagship, its walls lined with sharp, crystalline panels that shimmered like frozen lightning. The air was cold, heavy with a metallic tang. She blinked, her head throbbing from the stun blast, and saw Commander Virak standing before her. He was taller than she'd imagined, his teal skin almost luminous under the dim light, his eyes locked on her with an intensity that made her stomach twist. Behind him, a view screen showed Arctura burning, smoke rising from the ruins of her home. "You are Mira Cade," Virak said, his voice smooth and sharp, like a blade sliding from its sheath. "The one who fights with junk and words." Mira straightened as best she could, ignoring the ache in her shoulders. "And you're the one who thinks burning planets makes you strong." Virak tilted his head, studying her. He'd seen countless species cower before him, begging, weeping, offering everything to survive. This human didn't flinch. "Your defiance is pointless," he said. "Your colony is ash. Your people scatter. Why resist?" She met his gaze, her voice steady. "Because giving up isn't in us. You can break our stuff, take our homes, but you can't take what's up here." She tapped her temple with a bound hand. "Or in here." She pressed her fist to her chest. Virak's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes, curiosity, maybe doubt. He stepped closer, his armored boots echoing on the floor. "You are weak. No fleet, no weapons, no power. Yet you fight. Explain this." Mira smirked, despite the situation. "Weak? We've been knocking your soldiers around with scraps. Maybe you're not as tough as you think." A low growl rumbled from Drace, the hulking Chiral officer at Virak's side. "She mocks us, Commander. Let me end her." Virak raised a hand, silencing him. "No. I want to understand." He turned back to Mira. "Your kind should be extinct. You have no place among the stars. Yet here you are." She leaned forward, cuffs humming against her wrists. "That's your mistake. You think strength is ships and guns. We've got something you don't, imagination. We don't just fight to win. We fight to figure things out." Virak said nothing, but his silence felt heavy, like he was weighing her words. Below, on Arctura, the fight was far from over. In the mines, Jax Wren paced the dusty tunnels, his jaw tight. Lila sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by scavenged chiral tech, bits of armor, a broken weapon, scraps of wire. The transmitter still buzzed, sending Myra's message across the planet. Other survivors had started responding, faint signals from hidden pockets of resistance. A mechanic in the east had rigged a tractor to ram chiral scouts. A kid in the west had fried a drone with a rewired battery. The humans weren't giving up. "We've got to get her back," Jack said, kicking a rock across the tunnel. They took her because she's the spark. Without her, this falls apart. Lila looked up, her hands smeared with grease. She'd tell us to keep going. We can't stop now. Look at this. She held up a chiral rifle, its barrel cracked but still glowing faintly. I've been studying it. Their tech's rigid, perfect order, no flexibility. We can use that. Jack stopped pacing, his scowl softening. Use it how? They rely on patterns, Lila said, her voice gaining strength. March in lines, attack in waves. We don't. We hit and run, confuse them. Like Mira said, fight smarter. Jax nodded slowly. Guerrilla style. I can work with that. What's the plan? Lila pointed to a map scratched into the dirt. They're searching the mines. We let them come, then ambush. Traps here, here, and here. If we move fast, we can hit their scouts and grab more gear. Let's do it, Jack said, a grin breaking through. For Mira. The ambush was chaos, and it worked. Jax led a handful of survivors through the tunnels, luring chiral scouts into tight passages. Lila's traps, rigged from alien power cells and mining explosives, erupted in flashes of light, collapsing ceilings and scattering the enemy. The humans struck from shadows, using slingshots, sharpened tools, anything they could find. They didn't win clean victories, but they didn't need to. They wore the chiral down, stealing weapons and retreating before the aliens could regroup. Word spread. More survivors joined, bringing stories of their own small wins. The chiral's perfect order began to crack. Aboard the flagship, Virak watched reports flood in, scouts lost, patrols ambushed, equipment vanishing. Drace slammed a fist against a console. They're vermin. Swarming, stealing. We should glass the planet. Virak ignored him, his focus on Mira. Your people do this because of you, he said. A single voice, and they rise. Why? Mira shrugged, her grin defiant. We're stubborn. You push us, we push back harder. Always have. He stepped closer, his voice dropping. My dominion has crushed worlds for less. Order is strength. Chaos is death. Your way cannot last. Maybe, she said. But chaos made us. We've survived floods, wars, ourselves. You think a few ships scare us? You're just another mess to clean up. Virak's hand twitched, but he didn't strike. Instead, he turned to the view screen, watching Arctura's surface. You believe you can defy us forever? Not forever, Mira admitted. Just long enough to make you wonder why you're losing. For the first time, Virak's calm wavered. He'd built an empire on fear and control. Every species bowed or broke. But these humans, they bent, twisted, adapted. He gestured to Drace. Take her to a cell. No harm comes to her, yet. Drace growled but obeyed, dragging Mira down a corridor of pulsing lights. She didn't struggle, just watched, memorizing every turn, every panel. She'd find a way out. She always did. In the mines, Jax and Lila stared at a pile of stolen chiral gear, rifles, a comm device, a glowing orb they couldn't identify. This changes things, Jax said. We've got their toys now. Lila nodded, already tinkering with the orb. If we can crack this, we might reach Mira. Or hit them where it hurts. The comm crackled, and a faint voice broke through, another survivor group, reporting a chiral landing site nearby. Jax grabbed a rifle. Let's move. They want a war. We'll give them one. Aboard the flagship, Virak stood alone, staring at Arctura. Myra's words echoed in his mind, you're just another mess to clean up. He'd conquered galaxies, but this tiny world resisted. Why? The chiral thrived on order, every soldier a cog, every plan flawless. Humans were the opposite, messy, unpredictable, alive. For the first time, he wondered if order was enough. Drace stormed in, his voice booming. The scouts are failing, Commander. The humans multiply. We must strike now, end this. Virak turned, his decision slow but firm. No. We pause. I will speak to her again. Drace's eyes widened. You hesitate? For a human? I do not hesitate, Virak snapped. I learn. Below, the humans prepared, their defiance growing. Above, Virak questioned. The clash wasn't over, it was evolving. And Mira, locked in her cell, smiled to herself. She'd planted a seed. Now she'd see what grew. Mira Cade sat in her cell aboard the chiral flagship, the faint hum of the glowing cuffs a constant reminder of her captivity. The walls were smooth, alien, and cold, but she wasn't afraid. She'd been in tighter spots, trapped under a collapsed rig once, surrounded by sandstorms with no way out. This was just another challenge. She studied the cuffs, noticing how they pulsed in rhythm with the ship's energy. If she could disrupt that rhythm, maybe she could slip free. Her fingers twitched, itching for a tool, a wire, anything. Then she heard footsteps, soft, deliberate, not the heavy march of a guard. A chiral stepped into view, smaller than the soldiers, with wide, curious eyes and a nervous twitch in her hands. She wore a technician's tunic, not armor. I am Silra, she said, her voice low. I heard your words to the commander. You, confuse him. Mira raised an eyebrow. Good. Confusion's a start. Why are you here? Silra hesitated, glancing down the corridor. I do not believe in crushing worlds. Not all chiral do. I can help you, if you help us. Mira leaned forward. Help how? Silra tapped a panel, and the cuffs flickered off. Come. We must hurry. On Arctura, Jax, Ren and Lila crouched in the mines, surrounded by stolen chiral gear. The glowing orb Lila had been tinkering with suddenly flared to life, projecting a faint hologram of Myra's face, grainy, but unmistakable. Jax, Lila, her voice crackled. I'm on their ship. Working on a way out. Keep fighting. Jax grinned. Knew she wouldn't quit. What's the move? Lila shut off the orb, her hands shaking with excitement. This thing's a power node, ties into their systems. If we can overload it, we might disrupt their ships. Buy time. Do it, Jax said. I'll hit that landing site with the others. They won't know what's coming. The humans moved fast. Jax led a ragtag crew, farmers, mechanics, kids with slingshots, toward the chiral outpost, armed with scavenged rifles and makeshift bombs. Lila stayed behind, wiring the node to a jury-rigged transmitter. Across Arctura, other groups struck too, small, chaotic, unstoppable. The chiral's orderly lines faltered under the onslaught of human unpredictability. Aboard the flagship, Mira followed Silra through twisting corridors, ducking past patrols. Where are we going? She whispered. Engineering, Silra replied. I can get you to a shuttle, or something better. They reached a cavernous room filled with towering machines, their surfaces pulsing with green light. Silra pointed to a console. That controls the fleet's shields. If you can alter it, your people might stand a chance. Mira cracked her knuckles. Show me how it works. Silra guided her, explaining the alien tech in halting bursts. Myra's mind raced, piecing it together like a broken engine. She didn't understand every detail, but she didn't need to, she improvised. With a few tweaks, she rerouted the shield energy, amplifying it into a single, massive pulse. This'll either save us or fry everything, she muttered, hitting the command. The flagship shuddered as a wave of light erupted from its hull, rippling across the fleet. Shields flared, then collapsed, leaving the chiral ships vulnerable. Alarms blared, and Silra grabbed Myra's arm. We must go, now. Back on the bridge, Virak braced himself as the ship rocked. Drace stormed in, fury in his eyes. The humans did this. Their chaos spreads, we must destroy them. Virak stared at the viewscreen, watching Arctura's surface light up with human defiance. No, he said, his voice steady. They've exposed our weakness. Order alone cannot win. Drace drew his weapon. You've lost your mind, Commander. I'll end this myself. Before he could act, Silra and Mira burst onto the bridge, a stolen chiral pistol in Myra's hand. Not today, she said, firing a stun blast. Drace crumpled, and Virak didn't move, his gaze locked on her. You've changed everything, he said, almost to himself. Mira lowered the gun. So have you. Call off your fleet. Let's talk. Virak hesitated, then nodded. Stand down, he ordered his crew. The chiral ships halted, their weapons powering down. On Arctura, Jax's team overran the outpost, cheering as the enemy retreated. Lila's node overload hit, frying chiral sensors and giving the humans breathing room. The tide had turned, not a full victory, but a chance. Hours later, Mira stood on the flagship's bridge, unbound, facing Virak. Silra lingered nearby, a quiet ally. We're not done, Mira said. But we don't have to keep breaking things. Work with us, build something instead. Virak studied her, then the planet below. Your kind thrives in chaos. Mine in order. Perhaps, there is balance. She smiled faintly. Worth a shot. A fragile truce took hold. Hardline chiral generals grumbled, but Virak's word held, for now. Mira returned to Arctura, reuniting with Jax and Lila in the mines. She showed them a chiral data crystal Silra had slipped her, a map of the stars. They've got a whole galaxy out there, she said. And we've got ideas. Who's ready to explore? Jax laughed, clapping her shoulder. Crazy as ever. I'm in. Lila's eyes sparkled. Me too. We'll need ships, tech, everything. We'll figure it out, Mira said, gazing at the sky. The chiral ship still loomed, but they weren't firing. Not yet. The humans had survived, adapted, and now they'd dream bigger. The stars were waiting, and their story was just beginning.